Our movie begins as Lara enters a church and confesses to a priest that she was involved in a crime. Then we go back to the past, to when everything started, when her ex-husband Cosme, a businessman, came to retrieve his rifle and golf club. He told Lara and their son Ire that he had sold the house and that they had to move out within 30 days. Lara objected, saying they couldn't move because Ire had finally made a friend at his new school. But Cosme showed little interest in his son, whom he considered strange. Later on, Cosme confronted Ire while he was busy folding paper, then scolded him for not acting normally and mocked him. Lara silently suffered while listening to her son from the kitchen, then tearfully wished that Cosme would disappear because she felt he was ruining her life. Suddenly, she heard a loud noise and later discovered that Ire had killed his father with a pair of scissors. Ire told her he wouldn't go to prison because he was underage. At that moment, Lara insisted on taking the blame to protect him. When Cosme's phone rang, Lara didn't answer after realizing the caller was his current wife, in order to avoid suspicion. Then they carefully removed the scissors that had Lara's initials, his first wife, on them, and wiped the evidence from Cosme's neck. Later, while Ire was cleaning the blood, he refused his friend Holan's request to stay over. After that, they placed Cosme's body in the trunk of the car. Ire then suggested creating an alibi to divert suspicion from them. Following his advice, Lara hired a taxi to downtown and asked the driver to pretend to be her boyfriend and meet her at a restaurant. At the restaurant, Lara spoke with the customers while pretending she was waiting for her husband. When the driver arrived acting as her companion, Lara accused him of stalking her and threatened to call the police before leaving. When she returned home, Lara scolded Ire for bringing his friend Holan over to work on a school project and spend the night while Cosme's body was still in the garage. Ire promised he would help her move the car that night, but Lara fell asleep and forgot about it. The next morning, the two boys looked relaxed as they headed to school, and Lara reassured her son that she would take care of everything. Meanwhile, we see Cosme's corrupt lawyer Susan attending a meeting on his behalf. Cosme's wife, Venezia, also called Lara about Cosme's disappearance the previous day. Lara lied and claimed that Cosme had never visited them. At that moment, she was surprised by movers sent by Cosme. Lara felt both relieved and confused by the disappearance of Cosme's car, then pretended to be worried when Venezia called again about his disappearance. At the same time, Susan suspected that Cosme had been arrested, though she quickly doubted it. Later, Lara received a message from an unknown number offering help, which later turned out to be from Holan, Ire's friend, who had helped move the car. Holan confessed his feelings for Lara, but she was shocked, slapped him, and ignored him. Ire then told her they had left the car on a random road. Meanwhile, a police inspector found Cosme's body inside the car and informed Susan and Venezia. Venezia denied involvement in the crime despite Susan accusing her of trying to stop the investigation into their suspicious dealings. The two women then planned to bribe Inspector Antoine. Later, during dinner, Lara lied to the boys about where she had been. When she was alone with Holan, she thanked him but rejected his romantic feelings. Upset, Holan threatened suicide because he loved her, forcing Lara to falsely confess her love for him just to stop him from doing something crazy. Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Lara's mother, Baki, along with her caregiver Evelyn. At the same time, Venezia and Susan came up with a plan to keep Cosme's incriminating phone away from the police. Susan then bribed Inspector Antoine during dinner to frame Lara for Cosme's death and avoid any investigation into their shady business. Back at home, Lara told her mother Baki that she had killed Cosme. Her mother was happy and praised what her daughter had done. Baki then told her she should confess in church. The next day, during Cosme's funeral, Lara confronted his current wife Venezia, who asked whether Cosme had left his phone at Lara's house. Lara insisted that he had never visited them. Venezia then explained how Cosme's fortune would be handled after his death, and Lara reminded her that her son was entitled to half of Cosme's wealth. Lara later left the funeral with Ire and his friend Holan, where they were approached by Officer Wayno, who took Lara to the police station for questioning. There, Lara fabricated a story claiming she had planned to meet Cosme at a restaurant while Ire and Holan were working on a school project at her house. Shortly after hearing this, Inspector Antoine temporarily excused himself, leaving Inspector Wayno to continue interrogating her. The inspector discovered that Lara didn't have a full-time job and questioned how she could afford expensive shoes when Cosme only paid child support. Lara hinted that Cosme had given her a lot of money because, even after the divorce, they continued sleeping together since his current wife couldn't satisfy him. Suddenly, Antoine returned with the taxi driver, who had reported Lara for not paying the fare. However, after learning she was the deceased man's ex-wife, the driver withdrew his complaint, believing she was grieving for her husband. Antoine then asked her why she took the taxi to downtown at the exact time of Cosme's death and why she made the driver wait at the restaurant. Lara then invented an embarrassing story, claiming that she had actually been with her son's friend Holland that afternoon and had spent the night with him. After Lara left, the inspectors cornered the taxi driver in the bathroom and demanded the truth, and the driver claimed that Lara had asked him to take part in her scheme. After that, Lara called Holland and told him that their alibi was not enough, so she changed the story, claiming that he had been at her house that afternoon working on a project with Ayer, but that the two of them had also spent intimate time together. Lara noticed that this lie made Holland happy, but she clarified that it was only a story for the police. Holland felt humiliated, and after hinting that they should actually sleep together, he angrily hung up the phone. Meanwhile, the lawyer Susan visited Lara's mother Baki and her caregiver Evelyn, leaving them her card in case they found Cosme's phone. Lara then unexpectedly arrived and confronted Susan, who admitted that she had been searching for Cosme's phone, but also claimed she wanted to offer legal services. However, Lara told her she didn't need a lawyer because she hadn't been accused of anything. Susan explained that she could help with Ayer's inheritance, but Lara insisted she didn't need her help. At the police station, Antoine told Wayno that he didn't believe Lara's story. Although he wanted to investigate Cosme's suspicious business dealings, Antoine strongly hinted that Lara was guilty. The inspectors later questioned Holland at school before his parents arrived, where they discovered a disturbing drawing in his notebook. Antoine then asked him if he had slept with Lara, but Holland couldn't answer. He later returned home with the investigators, who wanted to open a suspicious file on his computer. Inside the folder, everyone was shocked to find a picture of Lara in swimwear. Holland's mother also found Lara's underwear in his room, which enraged her and made her threaten legal action. At that moment, Holland's parents spoke with him about what had happened and told him that his relationship with Lara had to remain innocent because she seemed occupied at the time of Cosme's death. However, while Wayno was distracted, Antoine secretly found a burned cigarette in the trash and slipped it into his pocket. Meanwhile, Lara realized that Cosme's phone was missing, causing her to panic. She asked Ayer where it was, but he explained that Holland had been questioned. Lara then nervously called Holland, who admitted that he had told the police about their intimate relationship. At that moment, Ari, Holland's mother, overheard the conversation, insulted Lara, and threw her son's phone out the window. Later that night, while Antoine was washing dishes, his friend Wayno suggested hiring someone to take care of his sick father so Antoine could enjoy life more. Wayno even advised him to place his father in a nursing home, which deeply angered Antoine. Furious, he kicked his friend out and became determined to punish Lara. That same night, he called Susan to arrange Lara's arrest the next day. Meanwhile, unaware of the possible consequences, Holland sneaked into Lara's room through the window. He told her that his mother had taken his phone, which pushed him to come see her and confess his feelings again. Despite complimenting him and showing admiration, Lara remained emotionally distant. Then, Lara cleverly took advantage of the situation and suggested framing Holland as the killer. Driven by his blind love for her, Holland naively agreed to cooperate. They sealed their agreement with a kiss and spent the entire night together passionately. At that moment, we return from the past to the present, where the priest suddenly ends the confession session after Lara hints at further details, specifically her relationship with her son's friend. His faith is shaken when Lara challenges him to accept the truth of her story. Motivated by the bruises he notices beneath her sunglasses, the priest reluctantly allows her to continue. Then we return to the past once again. The next day after their relationship, Holland left Lara's room before his absence could raise suspicion. However, Lara began feeling guilty and reconsidered her plan. Despite her hesitation, Holland clung to the illusion that he now controlled her. Lara told him that he belonged to her and that she loved him, then kissed him passionately. At that moment, Ari witnessed the disturbing scene, intervened, pulled her son away, and took him back home. Ari's sudden arrival was not the only surprise, as Lara was later met by the mocking smile of her troubled son Ayer, who jokingly asked her how skilled Holland was in bed. Despite feeling uncomfortable, Lara maintained her composure and hid her emotions. Ayer later revealed that his father Cosme's phone was hidden in the garage inside a box of wine bottles. Lara panicked because the movers had already taken everything away. She immediately tried to recover the phone to avoid incriminating herself. Meanwhile, Antoine forced the taxi driver to falsely confess that Lara had paid him to lie. He also told the police that Lara had gone with him because Evelyn had been unable to attend. At the same time, Lara attempted to retrieve Cosme's phone from the moving company, but she failed because the police had sealed the belongings. She later met the furniture worker who had moved the boxes into storage, and he secretly handed her the phone. Chaos then erupted as Antoine's suspicions about Lara intensified, but Lara managed to seize the phone. Amid the confusion, Wayno left her a message asking to meet him at the police station. Meanwhile, Ayer and Holen were pulled out of school while their classmates strangely applauded them. At that moment, Lara decided to surrender and asked her mother Baki to take care of her grandmother. During the interrogation, confusion arose regarding Lara and Holen's involvement in a relationship, while Ayer tried to confess to killing his father and accept all the consequences. However, the prosecutor stopped the interrogation because the boys were still minors. At that time, Lara contacted Susan and told her she had Cosme's phone and planned to hand it over to the police. Susan convinced her not to do it and arranged a secret meeting between them. There, she revealed Antoine's role in fabricating evidence. Lara then uncovered the complicated scheme involving Susan, Venezia, and Evelyn to get rid of her. Soon after, Wayno discovered the truth and confronted Antoine, which drove Antoine to commit suicide. After learning everything, Lara attempted to escape and barely survived Venezia's attempt to push her off a building. A violent struggle followed, and Baki intervened to save Lara. The chaos reached its peak when Lara killed Venezia in self-defense. At that moment, Susan fabricated a story to protect Lara, claiming that Venezia had murdered Cosme and framed Lara with the help of Inspector Antoine. With Antoine gone, the authorities sought to protect Lara. Susan then saw an opportunity to get rid of Venezia once and for all and ultimately struck her with a shovel. By then, Lara was physically and emotionally exhausted, but she was finally free, struggling with the consequences of all the crimes that had taken place. During her confession to the priest, she expressed guilt over her relationship with Holen and her desperate need to protect her son Ayer, torn between faith and sin. She sought forgiveness while trying to hold on to some sense of life as she watched her son and thought about his future. In the end, Lara managed to escape all the crimes that could have destroyed both her life and her son's. However, she could not stop herself from falling in love with her son's friend despite the age difference between them, and she eventually chose to live happily with him forever. And that was the end of our movie today. If you enjoyed the movie, don't forget to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and activate the notification bell so you never miss any new content we upload.